Hey, what's up? Yes, it's me again, J Lucky Henry. We're back, another episode of the vlog, and this week we're talking about weird things that happen in real estate. Now, one of the weirdest. Nah, you're gonna have to wait till we start.
My life, my life, my life, my life. My life, my life, my life, my life.
So, weird thing number one, right? We actually have people that sell property, real estate, and then also sell their pet. Like, what? They literally have sold their pet. Now, in the example we were talking about, the buyer wasn't the one that decided they want to buy it. The seller decided it was a good idea for them to leave their dog because they were moving to a place that wasn't going to have enough yard space. The dog was elderly and partially blind, so it was very comfortable in the house. Knew the layout of the yard, knew how to get around, do its number one, number two, that stuff in the yard. But they didn't want to take it to their new place. Fortunately for them, the buyers fell in love with the dog and they actually negotiated it into the offer price. No, they didn't pay any more for it. They just paid full asking price, I believe it was, and literally got the house and a dog. Now, well, I don't know, would you buy a house with a dog with it? So, another weird thing that happens in real estate, now this happens to me all the time. Just kidding, it never happens. I wish it did. But it is that you get hit on in real estate. Now, real estate is mostly women, right? The number one demographic of people who sell real estate is actually women in their mid-40s. Now, they get hit on by guys all the time. These creepy guys come in and they're like, hey, do you come with the house, baby? Or they're like, I'll buy it if you sweeten the deal for me. And it's just like, makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. And I mean, when it happens to me, it's not as weird. It's kind of adoring because it's always like these sweet, like 70-year-old women that are like, oh, if I were younger, I'd bake you some cookies or something. And I'm like, well, I'll take the cookies, grandma. But it's always interesting when you're trying to be professional, trying to do your job, and people are getting out of context and trying to be in borderline disrespectful in a way. And yeah, okay. So at the time we're shooting this vlog, clearly it's 2019. And would you believe that there are still people who don't actually have email or text? Yes, I've dealt with clients now, probably about a handful. And I love them, right? No ill will to them. I love them, still working with some that will not email, will not text. Like literally, they have flip phones if they have cell phones, and you gotta drive all the way late night, right, to drop off contracts to get it done. You gotta drop off listings to their house, right? Just printed out pieces of paper, listings to their house. It's not the easiest, right? And I actually start to wonder how people did real estate before technology, because obviously technology's come in and changed it, but that's a whole nother topic we're gonna talk about another day. Another super weird thing that happens is uninvited guest, kind of like those two. I'm walking through my vlog, right? Uninvited guest is one of the weirdest things that happens in real estate, especially when it's the seller, right? Let me explain. You're having an open house, the broker's open, right? And you have people, and the seller decides they want to check on you. They want to see how their property's doing. They want to see how you're doing. So they just show up unannounced, and you're like, whoa, this is a dead-end street for you, buddy. One way, like, why are you here? This is awkward. And I mean, it's their house, so you can't stop them, but it's so awkward for other people to try to talk about their property, give feedback, knowing that the seller's right there, especially because any negative feedback, they always want to counteract it, right? The seller wants to give their 2 cents and let you know why, so that's always awkward. But the most awkward is one I read in the comment section of actually sending your buyers to an open house and having them get confused and go into the wrong house.
You got the wrong door, man. You better leave before I call the cops.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, buddy.
I'm calling the police, so you better leave now.
There's a friend of mine named James who's in the business as well, sells real estate. He was telling me how he did an open house for the seller, and he had lots of people come by. About 80-something people come to this open house. James is notorious. Him and his team, they do big open houses. So he had about 80-something, I think it was 86 was the final number. And apparently, the seller was waiting around the corner, like up on a hill, so he had a nice vantage point, so he could see how many people came by. And he had one of those little clickers with him, just clicking away. And at the end of the open house, he came back and was like, hey, how many people came to the open house? And James said, 86. And the seller goes, counted 85. And was like, as if to say, like, I'm disappointed in you that you would lie to me about one person, even though you got 86 people through the door. So, what James ended up telling him was, hey, you missed the first couple because you were too busy getting your vantage point. You didn't see that first couple that came in with the baby that came from around the corner. And the seller was like, oh. And I was like, well, that just got weird. He knows you were counting. You knew he was counting. But he got it right. I love it. This one client actually tried to negotiate an entire person into the deal. Let me explain. We're not talking about just a tenant and a multifamily. We're talking about a single family house that we were selling. And this single family had 8 bedrooms. I know it's a huge house, 8 bedrooms in it. And the seller wanted an extra 10 grand. Now this is exactly the true story. This happened to me personally, right? Seller wanted an extra 10 grand on the purchase price. Now, when we couldn't get the extra 10 grand from the buyer, the seller said, here's what we'll do. Because the seller was using it as a rooming house. They had each of the rooms rented out to different people. The seller said, here's what we'll do. We will allow them to keep one of the tenants in the basement room. Now mind you, this is a single family, so there's one kitchen. Now, of the people buying this house are going to use it as a single family for their family to live in. But the seller's idea to get her extra 10 grand was, I'm gonna allow the buyers to keep one of the tenants. They can keep him in the basement. He pays about $900 a month in rent. And if you do 900 by 12 months, they'll make just over 10 grand. And then they can pay me my extra 10 grand today because they'll make their money back in a year and some change. Literally, this was the seller's idea. The weirdest thing I've personally probably been encountered with was she literally tried to negotiate an entire person into the deal. Like, they can just keep him and he'll pay $900 a month and live in the basement with this family that he doesn't know.
Guy named Skippy. He's a 34-year-old virgin who still lives in his mother's basement, and he walks around proudly sporting his Virginity Rocks t-shirt.
Who in the world would move your family in, right, with someone you've never met, don't know, and raise your kids in a house with some man that you've never met, and just gonna let him live in your basement, share a bathroom with you, share a kitchen with you? It's wild.
Don't flash that over here.
Huh?
Don't flash that phone over here. Don't flash that over here.
So that's another weird thing, right? Just people with stinky attitudes. Don't flash that phone over here. What? I'm not talking to you, man. Nobody's talking to you. So what else is kind of weird? It's people who just stink, period. Stinky smells, stinky houses. And that's a weird thing that happens in real estate. And unfortunately, it happens way too often, right? You go into an open house and the first thing you do is like, just look around and you smell and you're just like, ah. Unfortunately, I can smell what the Rock is cooking and it ain't good.
Okay. I'm surprised there isn't any wild animals in here.
There ain't some good gumbo or some jambalaya or nothing like that, man. Another weird thing that happens in real estate is you're having a full conversation with someone. Let's say 2-3 people walk in together in a group. And you're having a conversation, you've introduced yourself, you're talking, and then out of nowhere, without breaking contact, they just start speaking another language, looking at you. Without even looking at you, I mean, right? They're talking to you, and and then they start speaking another language, and you're like, whoa, did I offend you? Are you talking about me? The weird thing is, though, I speak like 5 languages, so most of the time I understand them. And it always freaks people out when they bust into another language, and I just respond in another language, like, they're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So to this day, my buddy J.R. Matthews, do lots of business with J.R., that's my guy, right? J.R. does not enter a property. If it's been vacant for a year, if it's been vacant for a day, J.R. does not enter a property without knocking on it first and alerting everyone who could potentially be in there that he's coming in. And I'm like, J.R., who are you talking to? The seller just left. They told us it's vacant. He's like, look, J.R., before you got into this part of real estate, residential selling stuff, he used to work at like a lot of auctions, foreclosures and stuff. So he's like, look, you never know, squatters, whoever's in there, I just don't want to surprise anybody. And to this day, that has stuck with me. And now I walk into properties, $1 million condos that are staged, vacant, double flight security, no one can get in there. And before I go in, I just in case. I don't want to surprise anybody. JR makes a great point. JR's also trained in Muay Thai. JR's also a fighter. I'm also a fighter. But he's like, you know what? What if the homeless person in there is a fighter? What if the person robbing the place is a fighter? What if the casual neighbor just walked in and they're a fighter, and then you surprise them, you startle them, and then out of self-defense, you get kicked in the head, and that's it. That would suck. What's up, guys? J. Lucky Henry. Appreciate you checking out that video. Now, if you would, like, subscribe, and check the comment section below. There's a question right there I want to know the answer to, alright? So check the comment section, drop a comment, like and subscribe, and share with a friend. See you on the other side.